The text messaging part of Grower's Edge is very handy because every day I'll receive a text that shows me where the best local market is.
That's what I like about Grower's Edge too. It gives me the information I want on my smartphone so that if I'm not in the office, I still get the information that I need.
Good afternoon and welcome to GrainTV. My name is Cody Bills. This is Logan Burgess. Today is Thursday the 17th and we had some interesting trade action here today. Corn for old crop trading up only 1 1/4 cents. New crop down or up a half penny. Soybeans trading down 11 cents for old crop. New crop trading down 8 cents. Wheat in Chicago trading up 12 3/4 cents for September, and wheat for December trading up 11 1/2 cents. Now, something very interesting that came across the news wires here this morning is the fact that a Malaysian airline passenger jet was shot down over Ukraine about 20 miles away from the Russian border. There is only circumstantial evidence right now pointing toward the fact that the rebels are responsible for this. This kind of goes during a time when the rebels had shot down a cargo plane from the Ukrainian government earlier on this week here, and so there is suspicion that it was in fact the Ukrainian rebels here responsible for that. Right. What that does, though, is it creates a lot of uncertainty here in the market, really how either side is going to react and what sort of geopolitical tensions this is going to cause, especially for a grain complex that has largely been unconcerned with the disruptions there in Ukraine. How did this affect the grain complex here this morning?
Well, really it had pretty wide effects on the markets in general. We saw crude oil moving sharply higher. Equities were off quite a bit immediately after the news had hit. If you take a look at this chart, this does a good job detailing what we saw in the grains here. The yellow line is the wheat market, the red line is the soybean market, and the green line here is the corn market, and these are all the September contracts. And you can see here we actually had corn and wheat showing some relative weakness coming in to the morning session. Once this news hit, though, around 10:30 Central Time, you can see wheat immediately picked up a large premium because as the grain market is concerned, as you said, Cody, is this situation going to spiral out of control? Is it going to affect wheat exports out of the Black Sea region? At this point, there's a lot of unknowns as to that end. But what we are seeing right now is a risk premium being put into the market. The wheat futures contract for September closed up about 2.5%, whereas corn and soybeans actually sold off into the close. Soybeans in particular really closed at the lows, down about 2% for the day. So right after this news out of Ukraine surfaced, I said, around 10:30, we saw soybeans follow corn and wheat higher, but traders looked like they were using this as a selling opportunity, not necessarily the kind of story to get long on. And then additionally, late in the day, we had news out of Argentina that the strikes down at the port of Rosario were coming to an end. So that was just another bullish indicator late in the trade session. Both those factors seem to combine to have this market close out on the lows.
Absolutely. And soybeans I thought was a very, very volatile trade, like you said, like you kind of talked us through the trade action of the day. And I think that the trade action today kind of indicates the fact that soybeans may not participate in a snapback. What it may participate in really is just a pause or a consolidation period before potentially moving lower, simply because of the overall bearishness of the outlook here. When we switch over, though, one thing that is very interesting, when we switch over to export sales, earlier on in the trade day, we did have a reportable sale for new crop soybeans of 708,000 metric tons. That was very, very positive here, and that helped kind of spur on soybeans earlier on in the day, kind of helped as it started to rebound here. So, when we look at overall export sales, we did have corn, both old crop and new crop, beating analyst expectations. Old crop came in around 573,000 metric tons, beating expectations here of between 250 and 350,000 metric tons. All in all, when you look at corn, old crop here, we're running about 43 million bushels ahead of pace to meet USDA expectations. expectations. When you look at soybeans, what was very interesting is we did get some sales here for old crop, about 37,000 metric tons. That ends up putting us well ahead of what the USDA is actually projecting. We've actually booked more sales now than what the USDA is projecting. We've had that's been the situation for a while. We're now up to 38.7 million bushels over what the USDA is projecting right now. So if we didn't make any more sales, we'd come out ahead of where the USDA is looking for export sales here today.
Right. So, with these exports now in the books, certainly looks like, especially for soybeans, we may need to see some revisions from the USDA out of the August WISE report. That's something that we'll be keeping an eye on here as we move through the remainder of July. Really, the last piece of information that we got today, we had a ton of information for this grain market to digest, and I think some of these stories are things that are going to go on here for a couple weeks. But we did get information today from NOAA as far as their outlook for August weather. You can see here from this map for the majority of the grain belt, specifically the northwestern grain belt, when you're looking at northern Iowa, southern Minnesota, the Dakotas. NOAA is now expecting about average precipitation and below average temperatures, slightly below average temperatures for the month of August. So, when you're looking at yields on this crop, I think that this is the kind of information that's going to really give people confidence that we are going to be able to see this good to excellent rating stay strong into harvest. It's also going to give people good support in terms of yield. The one question now, obviously, is one thing that we've talked about a little bit here on GrainTV, is as we move through the growing season, at what point is frost freeze threat going to become an issue here for the grain market? Right now, it doesn't look like it's being priced in, but that's something to keep an eye on here moving forward. Additionally, with the precipitation that's expected during August, we now have NOAA projecting major improvements in the drought conditions across the southern plains. You can see on this chart here, the tan areas and the green areas are areas where we should see drought improvement, and in some cases, the drought conditions completely resolved. So as we look at the wheat market, this is something that is obviously positive for next year's crop, but at the moment, not a huge story, more of just a resolution from the lingering drought problems that we've seen here since 2012.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other piece of information here before we go, we did get some news across from the Argentina Agricultural Ministry revising their 2013-14 corn estimates and soybean estimates here. Their corn estimates were revised to 33 million metric tons from 32.1 million metric tons in June. When you look at soybeans here, we moved from 53 million metric tons from 54. So it's looked like it was a little bit more bullish for soybeans than it was for corn when you look at Argentina agricultural production down there.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for joining us here on a Thursday on GrainTV. We'll see you tomorrow to wrap up the week.